Hey everyone, welcome back to Untangled Vines, where we are redefining the traditional rules of work. So, if you're not familiar with this podcast or our YouTube channel, what we are talking about is the future of work. Now, we're going to be debunking some things that are out there coming from people who aren't necessarily fans of remote work. And we're going to be talking about the information that you need to prepare yourself for the future of work, whether you're a business leader, whether you're an employee, whether you're running your own business and you're trying to figure out, do I go 100% remote? Do I go hybrid? Or do I go back to the traditional ways of working before the pandemic? So, what I wanted to do today is talk about the 10 challenges. You probably can't see that on the computer, but the 10 challenges of remote working. Now, this is from Timeular, Timeular. It's a great article that I just wanted to talk about today. That's why I got the laptop here. And hopefully, it provides you some insights because even though we're building for the future of work with remote and hybrid companies and providing that one singular roof where everything lives, we still understand that there are challenges out there. We're solving for that problem, but we're not there yet. So let's talk about some of these challenges that companies are experiencing whenever it comes to remote work. So the first one that they talk about here is effective time management. Now, this is what they say. Working remotely means that you can work from wherever you want. Thus, I would see, I wouldn't say that. You may have several distractions if you work remote and is from home, right? I messed up there. But whether it's the dishes, the laundry, cleaning the bedroom, or even taking care of your children, it can be a little too much sometimes, making it hard to focus. So, this is a good call out. It's the truth. There are distractions, but my rebuttal, and I'm not going to try to rebut all of these things, but my rebuttal on that first one is let's put yourself in the office again, right? What are there no distractions in the office? I mean, I know that whenever I worked in the office, I had tons of. I mean, I was the team lead. I was in a management position in most of the positions that I've held, and a lot of people come to you for answers. They have questions. They're looking for certain materials, or something just happened and they needed your help, right? So to say that effective time management is, and let me preface this too by saying, like, they're not just saying, okay, there's no issues with the office, but what they are calling out here is that this is a challenge, right? In my opinion, this is more of a benefit of a flexible working environment, right? Because let's put this in perspective from an employee standpoint, right? Not the company right now, but if you're able to do the dishes, do the laundry, clean the bedroom in between certain breaks that you have in a remote environment, well, now your employee has a better work-life balance, right? And we know from studies that the better the work-life balance is, the more satisfied the employee is going to be. And then this is correlated, so it's not necessarily causal, but the more satisfied that an employee is with their job or their life, or vice versa, it goes back and forth, they're going to be better at whatever the outcome is. So what I mean by that, because I don't think I explained it well right there, what I mean by that is the more satisfied that an employee is with their life, they're going to be better at their job. The more satisfied the employee is with their job, they're going to have better psychological well-being in their life. So it's the side of the same coin, so to speak, where if you have a more flexible environment for your employees, you're going to reap the benefit as a company, right? Because they're going to be more productive, they're going to be more effective, they're going to get things done, and it's just going to be good for you and the employee. That's the thing that we care about, because for the longest time, it's always been about the company. What is best for the company? What is best for the company, right? And don't get me wrong, you have to obviously make a profit. You have to be productive. You have to have employees who are doing the work, right? Don't get me wrong. That's always going to be the case. But we've neglected for the longest time the employee. Understanding that whenever we focus on the employee's best experience, they're going to give us the best results from that. So, okay, that's one of the challenges, effective time management. Now, the second one is unplugging after work. There's a common misconception that remote workers are slackers, but overworking is one of the biggest challenges of working remotely. According to Buffer's 2019 State of Remote Work report, 22% of remote workers have experienced difficulties unplugging after work. With no need to spend time commuting from the office to your home, it can be hard to separate work from your personal life. Now, there's a few things here. I agree on this one. There's a few things, okay? So whenever we're talking about unplugging from work, right, this can be solved in a couple different ways. One, you can take on that self-discipline, and you can have routines at your house that remind you to unplug, right? For example, let's say that you have the luxury of being able to have a fully dedicated office. Like for me, I have a fully dedicated office at my home. It's in a spare bedroom, but it's my office. Everything in here is office related. I have my bookshelves. I have the couch so I can record these types of videos. I have my screens over here. I have a mini fridge. I have the luxury of having that. Now, what that means is that I have a door attached to the office. Now, the routine that you could have, now I don't do this because I'm a workaholic and self-proclaimed. Actually, this is what my wife got me for Christmas. I'm an Enneagram 3. If you're watching this on YouTube, it says you say workaholic like it's a bad thing. So I am a workaholic. And so I don't necessarily shut off, but that's okay because I understand when I need to take a break and really disconnect. But let me get back to the example here. If you have the luxury of having an office, you can keep your laptop in here, and whenever you get off of work at 5 or 6 or whatever time you want to get off, you keep everything in here and you close that door. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can close the door and lock it. It's up to you. But you set that routine. Just like you would go into an office minus the commute, you can do that. You can shut it off. Now, the other way to think about it, if you don't have the luxury of having a full-on office, what you can do is have a spot where you put your laptop after the workday is over, right? So if you have a backpack and a closet, when you're done, close the backpack or close the laptop, put it in the backpack, put it in your closet. So it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Because this is the thing, like if your phone is right beside you, your mind is actually lighting up. It doesn't even have to be your phone, it's lighting up. So if that laptop is visible, then it makes it a little bit harder to unplug. Now, the other side of the coin is technology can solve this issue, right? So you can have, like, for example, if you use Slack, they have the hours that you can say, okay, I'm available, I'm not available. So you can do that too, right? And that's just one example. There's other things out there. I don't have the exact tools out there, but I just know that on a lot of settings with these applications, you can put it into, okay, I'm only going to work from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. Or if your time to work is 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., then you set that, right? You control that. Now, the company side of this is you can promote the culture that you want to have. And what I mean by that is you have the individual perspective and the ability to do that. Shut the door, close the laptop, hide it away until the next day. You have the technology where you can set your preferences on, okay, I'm not going to receive any notifications after this time. I'm not going to receive any notifications before this time. And then on the last part of this, for this example, is a company can clearly state what they expect from their employees. Now, we recommend documenting this, putting it out to the entire company, continuing to talk about it so they actually believe you, because that's the thing. Whenever it comes to a company culture, it's tough for employees to really believe you until you either do it yourself or you encourage other people to do it. So let me stop beating around the bush and get straight to it. So let's say it's a policy. This is going to be your remote or work from home or work from anywhere remote policy. And within that policy, what you're going to say is, as an employee of XYZ company, you are 100% remote or flexible hybrid. And when you work remotely, you have the ability, and we highly encourage that at 6 p.m., you disconnect. Do not respond to any emails unless it is urgent, in which case we will reach out to you in another form other than email or Slack. So it would be like your cell phone or something like that, right? So that is clearly stating what you as a company are okay with providing, or setting the expectation for the employee. Same thing whenever it comes to lunch. You say, okay, even though you work from home, you are guaranteed 30 minutes or 1 hour or however long of a lunch. So the way that we go about this is on Slack or in Grapevine, you put your status and you say eating lunch or at lunch or on break, whatever the case is, and you don't need to respond. You don't need to look at your emails while you're eating. You can go get your hair cut, you can walk your dog, you can spend time with your spouse or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. And you don't have to worry about responding. Because that's the thing, right? I think the reason that people don't unplug is, yes, they get caught up because they don't have to commute and all that kind of stuff. But I think the bigger thing is that they don't want their employee, they being the employee doesn't want the employer to think that they're not working. And anytime that they don't respond within a certain amount of time, given the person and how they think about it, they feel like if they don't respond in a certain time, that the employer or the manager, whoever it is going to think that they don't work, right? So set clear expectations and boundaries for your employees. Okay. So the third, and there's 10 here, so this might be 2 parts, right? So I'm not going to try to go through everything. Maybe I'll do 5 this video and then 5 the next video. The next challenge of working remotely is team communication. So let's look at this. This is also one of the main challenges of managing remote employees. Since you're not physically in the office with your colleagues, you will miss impromptu lunches, coffees, or spontaneous talks. Those are all kind of extras, so we'll talk about that. It makes it harder to create more profound and meaningful connections with your coworkers and to feel integrated into the team. That is dependent on if you're hybrid or 100% remote. We'll talk about that too. There are lots of tools to manage remote employees that will help you to address communication gaps. Companies use platforms like Skype, Teams, and Slack. This might have been written before the pandemic, because there definitely needs to be Zoom in there. where everyone remote and in office can chat about anything. Regular video calls with your team and manager are also an excellent way to bond with everyone. Having good relationships with your colleagues is important for your well-being at work. Okay, so let's just break this down one by one. So they're saying that since you're not physically in the office with your colleagues, you will miss impromptu lunches, coffees, and spontaneous. Now, in Grapevine, our software and our virtual office platform that we provide to remote and hybrid workforces, we have this place called the water cooler or the break room, the virtual break room. And what we're doing with that is if I have some downtime, and you think about it in the traditional office, the physical office, you would go to the break room, maybe grab a coffee or a little snack or water or whatever the case, or just walk around. So in Grapevine, what we have is the virtual break room. And if I sign on during my break, then the team will get a notification saying, hey, Zach is in the break room. Would you like to join him or not? Right. So those are those impromptu meetings. I mean, maybe it doesn't exist other than in Grapevine. I think it does. We'll see. But I don't know how I feel about this statement because your colleagues will miss impromptu. I mean, that's not team communication unless they're talking about the Google study that Google spent a lot of money and time investing in their cafeteria. And so like they did it on purpose because when colleagues gather in an informal setting, they're more likely to come up with ideas outside of what they're working on. I think like Gmail was created that way. Obviously, they also had their 20% of time that they encourage their employees to work on something of a passion project. But yeah, yes, it's an issue, but I don't think it's really a big issue. I think like the impromptu lunches, coffees, or spontaneous talks can be reiterated in a virtual environment. I guess it's not technically impromptu, but with Grapevine it will be. But anyway, I digress on that. I think that can be easily solved for. I mean, even if you only have Zoom or Slack, I think there's like a tool out there that you can round robin people to connect with one another. I think it's called Donut. Don't quote me on that, but you can look it up and see. Just say like Donut round robin coffee meetups or something, virtual coffee meetups or something like that. Okay, so the next point here is it's harder to create more profound and meaningful connections with your coworkers to feel integrated in a team. Yeah, so with this, the reason that I said it depends on if they are 100% remote or flexible hybrid. Now, it seems like this article is on 100% remote because it says working remotely, but I'll go on both sides here. So if you're 100% remote, I think that this is a false statement because the only way that you connect as 100% community or workplace is through virtual connections, right? And the reason that I'm pushing back on this is because it all comes back to the intentionality of the company, of the employees, of the culture that they're creating, right? So are you intentional with how you're having meetings, right? And what I mean by that is going back to the impromptu lunches, coffees, and spontaneous talks, you can also have scheduled coffee chats or scheduled office hours or scheduled meetups in a virtual setting, right? So everything with remote goes back to intentionality. And yes, it takes a little bit more time to think about it, but real example. So whenever I was working at Kumu Corporation, an enterprise video solution company, I met my manager through Zoom. I got hired through Zoom. I got onboarded virtually through Zoom and other tools, SharePoint, all that kind of stuff. Virtual trainings, LMS trainings, all that kind of stuff. I didn't meet my manager until 9-10 months down the road. And we built a connection. And the reason that we built a connection was because we weren't just talking about work when we talked. Now, that might sound scary to people who are only working in the office, especially managers, because they're saying like, oh, well, now you guys are just talking. You aren't talking about work. It's the same thing as going to the cafeteria at Google and having a conversation and then something popping up, right? So we have to change the way that we're thinking about remote work, because they're saying that it's not as collaborative, but is it that they're not as collaborative, or is it that you haven't been as intentional in developing the structure of how your employees work remotely? That is a huge question. Okay, now, if it's flexible hybrid, this is going to be different, because I would say it, and I'm just double checking, making sure that they don't say it down the road. So if it's flexible hybrid, or more so structured hybrid, if it's structured hybrid, then you could possibly have cliques, the people in the office and the people 100% remote, or just the people in office when the people where the people remotely are feeling secluded, right? Again, it goes back to intentionality. If you're going to have a structured hybrid workforce or a flexible hybrid workforce, you need to make sure that you are still scheduling out entire team meetings for the entire team, not just people, or the entire company. Either way, not just those people who are in the office versus virtually. And the other thing is if you do have a in-person meeting without adding that virtual person or that person working remotely, update them, have the transcription, record the meeting, right? It's all intentionality, right? That's it. Some people just don't want to take the time that it takes to do that, even though that remote work is giving them the flexibility, whether it's hybrid or 100% remote, right? So think about that. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one here, which is productivity and organization. Without someone overlooking your work, you need to be a master at self-motivation and time management. Kind of. I mean, yes, but that's where employees can bring in speakers from the outside who are really good at this. We did this at Kumu. We would bring in people who are coaching our employees on well-being, how to manage stress, how to work remotely, how to have ergonomic setup at your house, and all that kind of stuff. Um, it's all about intentionality. So, okay, with someone overlooking it would be a master at self-motivation and time management. Yeah, I mean, not everybody's going to be perfect. It's going to take some time, but with the right tools, with the right coaching, training, and all of that kind of stuff, you're going to be fine. Just continue. I mean, in Grapevine, what we have is one-on-ones with your employees. We have one-on-ones, growth plans. You can give feedback. You can provide rewards and recognition and all that kind of stuff. So, and you have action plans that whenever you talk to your manager, you create those specific takeaways. So let's see, it's difficult to stick to a schedule and get all the tasks done, but this gets even harder for remote workers. Managing your to-dos can be challenging when you work from home and have such a flexible routine and distract. See, it's going back to distractions again and flexible routines, but that's the entire point, right? Like, whenever I say we need to change the way that we work, what I'm talking about is we need to change that. It's not 9 to 5 anymore. So don't expect your employees to work 9 to 5 every single day, right? Your to-do list is there. Actually, in my opinion, whenever you work remotely, you're more strategic about your to-do list. Because whenever I worked in the office, yeah, I wrote some things down, but they were all scattered. Now I use digital to-do lists and tracking my goals, KPIs, OKRs, so on and so forth. And I'm more organized. I know exactly what I need to accomplish, right? So, I mean, it depends on your company and what type of tools you have and the structure of your culture. Okay, so this part says an organized schedule is critical to staying productive. Prepare a to-do list, create a time management time. This is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because they're saying like this is the challenge, but then you need to do this. So kind of what I was saying there. Okay, the fifth one, and this would be the last one for this episode, and then maybe I'll do the follow-up later. Maybe not like back to back, but okay, working from home, working from different locations or time zones. With remote working, many companies have the opportunity to hire people all around the world, which is excellent for business, but it's not always easy to manage. With people working in different time zones, it's harder to have the team in sync. Okay, time zones. Okay. So with this one, working from different locations or time zones, this is where you want to utilize asynchronous videos as well as something, and I'm not promoting Grapevine. I mean, I am, because obviously that's why we built it. But I mean, Grapevine solves this, right? Like, you have a way to constantly communicate to anyone, anywhere in the world, right? I am actually working with a development team in Pakistan, and I want to say they're 9 hours ahead of me. And so what we do is we have that cross lap where we can meet early in the morning. We have that conversation. Again, it goes to the intentionality. But then at the same time, we communicate asynchronously and we collaborate through cloud environments, right? So for example, if Talal, our lead project manager, if he has something to tell me, he'll tell me, and I will receive it when I wake up, and then I'll respond to him. Now, if it's a pressing issue, I can see where this is a problem, but that goes to workflows, right? So if you're able to implement workflows and automation and all this kind of stuff, and you have thresholds, then you're able to easily work from different locations or time zones without having any issues. Now, if you're in an environment where you need to have 24/7 support, that's actually a benefit too, right? Because if you're in America, where I am, and then you have somebody in London, and then you have somebody in Pakistan or India, now you can actually work 24/7 without people having to work 24/7, right? So there's so many benefits attached to this. So yeah, I get the statement that it's difficult to work from different locations or different time zones, and you got to have good Wi-Fi, you have to have good bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. But again, it goes back to intentionality. It depends on the type of organization too, but either way, if you're in different time zones, especially different continents, you're working remotely no matter what. Whether they're in an office or you're in an office, you're still separated. So you have to be intentional about that. So anyway, those are the 5 challenges: effective time management, unplugging after work, team communication, productivity and organization, and working from different locations or time zones. In the next episode, we'll talk about, again, it might not be consistently like right after this episode. We're going to be talking about dealing with cultural differences, technical problems, loneliness, career growth, and then sedentary lifestyle. So if you're interested in this episode, make sure to stay tuned for, or look out for, the part 2. Thanks so much for watching. This is Untangled Vines, redefining the traditional rules of work. If you're interested, make sure to follow this, subscribe, like, notify. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.